Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to NBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up?
Really like that.
You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
You showed us, well, I guess you showed me, but you showed us as well. Texas, we've been telling you, nay. We have been demanding that Texas show up and remain consistently dominant. A consistently dominant football team from week 1 to week 13. If you wanted our admiration, if you wanted our approval, not that you give a shit, but if you wanted it, you had to remain consistently dominant. And this weekend, for the better part of 4 quarters, the University of Texas Longhorns were absolutely dominant against a pretty good, I'm not going to say really good, pretty good Kansas Jayhawk football team. We hyped them up. We told you in the last 7 football games that Kansas has lost, they have scored an average of 30 points per game. They do not go down without a fight. They do not go down quietly. They do not get beaten into submission unless you're a great football team. And Texas was a great football team this weekend. They had almost 700 yards of total offense in this football game. And defensively, they held Kansas to 260 yards of total offense. Kansas was held to 0 for 8 on third downs on Saturday. Texas tackled well. They blocked well. They nearly doubled Kansas in time of possession. They dominated the football game for 4 quarters. And for that reason, Texas, you showed me, you proved, okay? You proved why we were wrong. We do not shy away from being wrong, again, especially when a team earns it, and Texas earned it this weekend. Now, go finish the rest of the season like you have started the season. 5 weeks through this football season, you have a schedule that is very, very apropos to you running the table, okay? Red River shootout, that is it, okay? Whatever happens in that Red River rivalry, that will determine your undefeated stature of this football season again, as long as you remain consistent, which again, hey, to this point in the season, Texas and Steve Sarkisian have proven to do the one thing that all 3 of us coming into this football season questioned whether or not they were going to be able to do, and that is to win and show up and play well week in and week out. So to start the show, let's go ahead and give Texas their flowers. As a matter of fact, let's give them 3. Texas getting 3. First team to do so here on this network for doing what we thought you might not be able to do. Welcome into tonight's show. We got a loaded one for you. That week 5 slate did not disappoint. We told you it was loaded. It showed up loaded. Sam Hartman ripped our boy Jay Will's heart out on the road this week. We were watching that one on the way back from Auburn. My boy was sweating it the whole time, and Sam Hartman ripped his guts out. Lincoln Riley set to absolutely just waste one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen in this sport. Sam Pittman in a little bit of hot water up there at Arkansas in Little Rock. Biggest win of the weekend. Where was it? Who was it? We'll tell you about it. What the hell happened out there at Tucson or in Tucson with our number 2 or my number 2 ranked football team coming into the week? Washington in a late night struggle with a relatively bad, if you will, Arizona football team. We'll talk about that. Ole Miss and LSU in an all-timer out there in the SEC West. Tennessee gets herself a revenge game. And what in the Sam hell happened to Florida this weekend? We're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, we got to show some love to our boys and girls at Prize Picks. I'm putting it on you, Kirby. Give me that read.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the football season, and that means sports are being played. What does that mean when sports are being played? That means you can do fantasy sports. Go to Prize Picks right now. Use promo code Brooks. That means you'll get 100% of your first deposit up to $100. Put $100 in, you get $100 back. It's easy. Prize Picks.
Promo code Brooks.
I don't know their slogan. Do they have one?
Prize Picks. You better support those who support us. There you go.
Prize Picks. Pick them and play them.
Yeah, Prize Picks. We're great at reads. We're just absolutely elite at doing that. No, make sure you run over to Prize Picks today. Make sure you're subscribing today as well. If you have found us and you are not subscribing, make sure you do so. Shouts out to Texas, man. Can you believe that? I know you had a lot on this football game. It was one of our favorites coming into the week, and it was not a highly contested football game.
Yeah, I definitely thought that Kansas was going to put up more of a fight. And it looked that way for the first half of the game, but Texas just leaned on them and beat them. So credit to Texas because this was one of those games where you go, oh, it's Texas. They're gonna fold here. So they proved us wrong thus far, but we're not even halfway through the season yet. So we got a long way to go. Yeah. So I'm not fully in on Texas yet, but I will give them their flowers. This is a game they don't usually win.
I hate to keep doing the show me thing, but they do have Oklahoma this week, and that seems like what the Big 12 is coming down to. So it is another show me week for Texas, but up to this point, outside of what you did against Wyoming, like they have continued to show that they are consistent, they're consistently good, and they can hang with the best.
They have far better football players. Not far better. They have better football players top to bottom than Oklahoma.
Yeah.
If they lose this football game this weekend, it's because they either got outcoached or just outplayed. And I think that is the byline of the rest of their schedule. Okay, the rest of their schedule is we are better on paper. Okay, we go win. All right, that is the rest of Texas's schedule now. They're not as far. Good God, you guys got some coughs over there, man. Holy smokes.
I'm giving you a flu game right now. Come on.
Yeah,
you know what the key to not coughing is?
Don't breathe.
Well, that or just keep talking. Keep talking or keep drinking, one or the other.
All
right, that's it. And you can't keep talking because I'm talking. So you're going to have to keep wetting that whistle over there and do so away from the mic because them things are pretty sensitive. Where should we start? I wrote that in my notes. I know exactly where I want to start. I want to start with this USC and Colorado game because it was absolutely perplexing. When I left the box at Auburn, to go down and start shooting pregame, I believe the score was 34-7. USC was handling business. They were taking care of everything they needed to take care of. Then next thing I know, I look up in the stadium out there at Auburn in Jordan-Hare, and I see a one-score football game that's got a final on it. And I'm sitting there going, how in the shit? What in the what? What happened? All right? So when that happens, all you got to do is go check the box score and look through that play-by-play summary because you're going to find out real quick what happened. And it's USC defense. That's exactly what happened right here. Look at this.
I thought it was because they didn't want to be called bullies.
Yeah, it might be because they don't want to be called bullies, but this is what it really was. All right, this is nuts. I went back looking. Like, what changes did Colorado make? Did they play different guys? Yeah, they played different guys. Yeah, they did some different things, but in reality, this is what happened. Look at these scoring drives. Okay, there was 4 scoring drives in the second half by Colorado. Scoring drive number 1. That is a 65-yard pass play that they allowed. You're definitely going to give up some points on that drive. Scoring drive number 2. They had a 44-yard passing play in that drive that they allowed. Yeah, you're going to give up some points on that one. Scoring drive number 3. They had 2 10-plus yard rushes, 1 17-yard rush to Colorado, by the way, who was averaging about 50 yards per game on the ground entering this football game. Not great, Bob. You're going to give up a scoring possession on that drive, too. Scoring drive number 4. This was my favorite. They had 2 passing completions, over 20 yards, and a 15-yard plus run on one drive. That's absurd. Absolutely absurd. Okay, so how did Colorado get back into this football game? Yeah, they did some good stuff defensively. They turned Caleb Williams over. They had a couple of 3-and-outs. They forced a few punts. But the answer is, USC's defense showed up, in the second half. The real defense, not the defense that they kind of showed like that they were in the first half. The real USC defense. Check this number out. This stat will blow your mind. I don't even know how it's even possible, except I found it today, so it must be. Listen to this. USC is currently allowing 400 yards of offense per game on the defensive side of the football. That ranks 88th in the country, They're almost 90th in the country in yards allowed per game. Now, you'll ask, but Brooks, who have they played? They probably played some pretty decent offenses. You'd be wrong, 4 of their opponents, Nevada, 116th in total yards per game. Stanford, 114th in yards per game. San Jose State, 100th in yards per game. They have played 3 of the worst offenses in the sport, and they're giving up 400 yards per game on the offensive or defensive side of the football. Guys, it is beyond bad. It is atrocious the way USC has remained on the defensive side of the football under Alex Grinch. And honestly, Lincoln Riley might sacrifice 3 of the years of the best quarterback we've all ever seen to have Alex Grinch as his defensive coordinator, because why?
I mean, this goes back further than just Caleb Williams. I feel like the entire mantra since Lincoln Riley has been a head coach has been, wow, they have one of the best offenses in the country, but every year their defense loses them a game. I don't understand how he doesn't at least go, I need to do something to change. He's consistently slamming his head into a brick wall.
It's a definition of ignorance, or what is it?
Insanity.
Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. It's exactly what it is.
So I don't get what is he just going to expect that one day he'll have such a great offense that you can overcome any defensive play? Is that why you went to the Pac-12? I don't know. What.
I mean, I feel like you would have gotten that answer at Oklahoma. You had some really freaking good offenses at Oklahoma, and it seemed like maybe that could get you over the hump against some teams. It almost got you over the hump against Georgia in 2017 in the Rose Bowl, but it's never produced results, or at least the results that you would think a head coach at a place like Oklahoma or USC would be chasing after.
And we've nailed this down far before the season even started. We ran the numbers down on just the asset allocation, if you will. Like how much resources are you pouring into the defensive side of the football? And the answer is not a lot. Okay, I can't remember exactly the numbers that we ran down, but basically they are like 2 to 1. For every JUCO or transfer guy that they bring in on the defensive side of the football, they bring in a single solitary high school football player. And in fact, I think it's actually like more 2.5, almost 3 to 1, the ratio being transfers versus high school kids. Now, what does that mean? What does that matter? Well, it matters because we have some data. We have some actual years of transfer portal data now that shows us that first-round draft picks really aren't the guys on the defensive side of the football who are transferring. First-round draft picks on the defensive side of the football, the ones required to win national titles, those guys have pretty much been around the system for years on end. Okay, there's a few examples. There's the Christian Gonzalez kid from Oregon last year. There's the defensive end from Florida State this year that will get Jared Curse that will get drafted in the first round. There's a couple there. Jermaine Johnson, okay. Tyreek Stevenson was a high second-round draft pick. Basically, if you transfer from Georgia or you transfer from a really, really good program, you got a shot to maybe be a first-round draft pick. Or if you come from Albany and you get out of Albany and end up at Florida State for 2 years and ball out, you might have a chance. But basically, if you transfer from San Jose State and you were an okay football player and then you go start for USC, odds are you're probably not very good, okay? Odds are you're probably not a first-round draft pick, okay? And history tells us we need those things to be good on the defensive side of the football. So, yeah, if you're not going to attribute any of the resources to that side of the football, we can't expect those types of results from that side of the football.
And you have to think, I mean, to expect your offense to go play perfectly essentially for 15 straight games for the entire season, because that's what it's going to require for USC.
It's going to require 58 points.
Exactly. Every single week. It's just, that's not realistic. Eventually there's going to be a bump of the road. You're going to have a day like Washington had against an Arizona, and I don't know if you're going to be able to survive that.
Yeah, I don't understand, and I've said this before, and I don't get how you can watch that year in and year out and say, this is fine. We're going to rebuild and do it again next year. What does he have with Alex Grinch? Like, why does he keep him around?
I think he's a good hang. I mean, honestly, like imagine if you hated hanging out with one of us. And we spend so much time. I don't know how you guys' relationship is when you leave me, but you seem to somewhat like each other. Okay? But imagine if you not only disliked it, but despised the person you have to work with all the time. It would be hard. But flip it on the other end. Imagine if you really loved that dude. Maybe I need to know a little bit more about you guys' relationships. I got two different faces. I got a big cheese and I got a straight face. But I think that's kind of might be who you guys are. We got big cheese and straight face.
I have a really good poker face.
You got a really good poker face? I think you're just a poker face in general. I can't ever read you.
So you don't want people to know that you like me, or you don't want people to know that you don't like me?
It's a great question.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Thoughts on this USC Colorado game before we move on?
I mean, I said that this was the perfect game for Colorado to get into a shoot. And it wasn't really a shootout. It was more of a comeback late and make a final push. But the scoreboard looked like a shootout at the end, and I think that's kind of what the media wanted to kind of push Deion. Oh, is he are they back? But that hasn't really happened so far. I'm kind of surprised by that.
I was I mean, if a Deion, I'm not necessarily a Deion hater or a Deion advocate. I'm kind of neutral and indifferent about the situation. I think it's great for college football.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking for positives out of that, you have to be a well-coached football team to answer like that in the second half, especially if you didn't change a lot schematically. Like, you have to be a good motivator to get teams at home to pick their shit up and play and, like, really go to work against a USC football team who's far more talented than them.
I think the market has finally corrected to where Colorado's not a horrible team.
Yeah.
They're not awful. They're not the 1-11 team they were last year.
They're 7-5.
They're not the national championship contending, oh my God, are they going to win the Pac-12 team that they thought they were in week 2? They're somewhere in the middle, and I think that's perfectly where they are now.
Is Bama back?
No. Bama's back to being the favorite in the West.
Okay. Well, that's back.
They're back in that. They're not back to like that Bama standard that everybody slaps on them.
So you were quick to say no. Like, you were ready to say no. No.
They're not these world beaters that they used to be. You know, like, I don't think Bama is as good as they are now, or as good as they are compared to the West, and as with them being the favorites now, it seems like they're still not like the standard that everybody's chasing after. And I wouldn't say, like, if you put the top 5 teams in college football right now, I don't know that a lot of people are saying, oh, I take Alabama to come out of that pack.
I agree with that, but I also think that what they did to Mississippi State Saturday night was the best version, or the perfect version of what
how they want to
they
win.
wanted to play. Murder ball, question mark.
Their perfect formula.
Where they just lean on you, they run the ball down your throat. They don't really have to pass it. The defense suffocates you.
You don't force them to score.
No, and I think the problem is that, yeah, that's not going to work when you have dynamic offenses like LSU and things like that. But at the same point, who in the West right now, LSU just gave up 700 yards to Ole Miss. Like, it's not like they –
You could have told me they gave up 700 points. I wouldn't have stopped you.
There's no one in the SEC really that's like, well, they're not going to be able to beat X.
Yeah.
So and there's no one in the country right now that's like that, where it's just like, oh, they would get killed if they ran up against this team. I think this is the most parity we've ever had in college football. So I think the fact that they're kind of playing, quote, murder ball now is good for them, and it kind of shows that they might have fixed things.
Look, I don't know if Bama is back, but if you watched the football game or if watched any part of it, you would have noticed that pissed off Nick Saban is back. Okay,
Yeah.
Nick Saban was parading that sideline like a goddamn lunatic on Saturday night, and he was asked before the half, what was the biggest adjustment between quarter 1 and quarter 2? And he looked at that poor sideline reporter, and he said, well, did you see me get after their ass? So, like, he knew what it was, and he knew what the point was. And I will tell you, so that's the main point. I saw a very angry and perturbed Nick Saban. I saw the red-faced, screaming out of his mind Nick Saban that we've all come to know, and most come to not necessarily enjoy, because 9 times out of 10, if you see that Nick Saban, you're fitting to see a response from his football team. I think that's exactly what you saw second quarter through the fourth quarter of that football game against Mississippi State. Now, here's the other thing. Nick Saban fucking owns Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I mean owns Mississippi State. He's going to have his name on the buildings out there when he's done. Okay? In the last 6 meetings between these football teams, Alabama has won by an average margin of victory of 31 points.
Ouch.
He's beaten Mississippi State by almost 5 touchdowns over the last 6 years. This was going to go this way. I'm going to tell you that right now. Nick Saban's going to beat the shit out of Mississippi State, and he did exactly that this week. I don't know if they're back. I will tell you this. Their path to winning the SEC West is there. But they got to do something this weekend. Okay, you got Texas A&M at home, 2.5-point favorite.
Yeah, if you're a Bama fan or just someone who watches, you have to feel a lot better about their SEC title and even national title chances than you did after the USF game.
Facts.
All I'm going to say, Iron Bowl's at Auburn this year, and Auburn might have a defense that can give them some troubles.
Yeah. Like I said, I've already told you my take on Bama, but it's a lot better than it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, if you can roll the hats out and play with them at the line of scrimmage, you're going to give them issues. And I think Texas A&M is one of these football teams that can handle that
A&M,
at the line of scrimmage.
Auburn looks like they can do
Auburn
it now.
looked like that this weekend. That number 50 from Auburn, Morris, holy shit. That is an NFL defensive tackle, guys. That guy played his butt off on Saturday. Twitch. There's no way that dude looks 300 pounds.
No.
If you saw it, like, in pads, like, freaking ripped up, okay? Auburn did this thing where they put a helmet on a guy and make him sing lyrics. They did that to him. I swear to God, I thought it was a running back. Because you don't get any height proportions, you don't get anything. All you get is just like his silhouette. I'm like, no way, defensive tackle. They show that Morris kid, and he is all of 305 pounds, but no, that is an NFL football player.
Not a very good singer, though.
No, not very good at singing the beeps. No. But hey, shouts out Justin Bieber. Didn't think that was going to happen on this network. A little shout out to Justin Bieber. But no, Bama absolutely running through Mississippi State like shit through a tin horn like they always do. But there is a path. There's a path to winning the SEC West, which brings us to probably the best game. Not probably. Best game of the weekend?
Yeah.
Ole Miss LSU, and it was slap drunk.
No, that game was racked, dude.
That game was racked?
That wasn't just drunk. That game was racked. That was 3 a.m. running home.
Yeah. 3 a.m. Oh, this is drunk off of Vyvanse. That's what it was. Kids, don't do this at home. Okay, but if you just want to drink more than you've ever drank before in your life, okay, do it on an amphetamine. That's what this football game was. This football game was on some Vyvanse.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally the energy you got from that football game was like it just kept going, and you're like, oh, damn, it's almost 70 points scored.
That's one of those games where you just hope it never ends. You're like, keep scoring. Go to overtime. Go to 7 overtimes. Like, just keep going.
Ole Miss had 711 yards of total offense.
That's the SEC record, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
They scored 21 points in the fourth quarter alone.
Good God.
Yeah. LSU's got the offense to beat anybody, but they also have the defense to lose to anybody.
But this is a game that it was great for 4 quarters. It was really, really great. And then a field storming happened.
Oh, my.
And all of the even better talking points, all of them happened after this. Do we want to play the video first of the guy getting tackled, or do we want to talk about the man who climbed the field goal post?
Let's talk about the man.
I want to talk about the field goal guy.
Oh, there's also a great one where the security guard was out here elbowing girls in the neck.
Oh, my God.
Did
You
you see
saw
this?
that dude just plowing people over.
Absolutely. So we're talking about the LSU guy potentially, like people wanting to give charges to him.
Yeah.
The security guard that throat punched a chick was just, Buddy was a fire hydrant, first of all. Was straight up, as big around as he was vertically challenged. Mm-hmm. And he gave a forearm shiver to a brunette girl that was running right by him, just right in the throat.
He's doing his job, man.
He was.
Can't fault him.
But I also noticed he immediately turned around and was like, oh, shit. I just elbow checked the chick.
I just killed a
I just
15-year-old
killed a
girl.
Yeah, so there was that. Then there was Mans who climbed the field goal post, was making out with the field goal post, giving it some kisses, giving it some love.
Vibing.
Okay, and then did a front flip off of it.
Unsuccessfully.
That's a total success, dude.
If you didn't break your neck,
you're out here
die,
front
it's a
flipping.
success.
You're out here front flipping that
On a trampoline.
on a tramp. That's what I'm saying,
Dude,
You get
that's
a
what I'm
nice,
saying.
Easy,
The way he
soft
landed,
landing.
that's not successful.
Do a front flip right now.
Do a flip.
We'll go
No.
to camera 1.
Dude, I'd be paralyzed for the rest of my life probably.
That's what I'm saying. I thought it was hella impressive.
Yeah.
Because he definitely had not done a front flip before. Okay, you could tell by the way his body contorted, he had never done a front flip before. That was spur of the moment. I'm piss hammered. I'm doing a front flip off this field goal.
He hit his peak and he was like, how long can I ride this wave? Let's see if I can finally do a front flip. And he's like,
And
all
then the
right.
security guards arrested him.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
But maybe that
Yeah.
was just one of those things where like we feel like we have to do this because we don't want everybody to think that they can do it. So
You
maybe
didn't-
they just like put him in some cuffs, took him to the back. Was like,
They had
"Dude,
to send a
just go
message."
home. Like, just go home. We're not going to take you anywhere.
All right, so if those two stories don't top this football game, this is epic. I want you to can we share this on the screen so I can hear it, or do you have to play it for the audience?
I can put it on the screen and screen share.
Yeah, let's do that because I kind of want to hear this.
We'll keep
And I
riffing
want
while
to play this multiple times because there's a lot to break down here. There's a lot going on.
We'll keep riffing while he does that.
We'll keep riffing. Okay, so this is the sound of what is obviously an Ole Miss fraternity brother storming the field, okay, whilst calling every LSU football player a pussy, okay, and then getting his ass knocked out, okay, while also letting everybody know that his daddy got a real good lawyer. Let me
Ready?
know.
Let's go! Fuck LSU! Fuck you!
lot going on here. So you see him running the field first. Okay? And then, right there. Boom. Love that. First of all, guys, thoughts. Defensive lineman straight giving him the 2-arm shove.
That's the funniest shit. Dude, my favorite part about it is him going, whoa.
Yeah, he's like, oh my gosh. But he took like a champ.
And then the part that I love is when you get to see the defensive lineman is going after him again. Like, once he gets up, he's I'm going after him.
He was angry.
No, he was not happy. Let's play that one more time from jump from everybody, and then I'll be sitting back on my seat. I didn't hit it, did I?
Fuck LSU! Fuck you!
He's in the middle of a fuck you. He's in the middle of another one when he gets pushed on the defensive line. He's like, fuck off! The chat's got it nailed, bro. Nice heavy hands on the defensive lineman there. The dude's got heavy hands.
He does.
You know? Might need a position change. Might need to play some offensive line. A little hand shock right there, bro.
I mean, the kid was like $170, dude.
Oh, I know, but
with rocks in his pocket.
We talked about a pre-show. My least favorite thing nowadays is when someone gets what's coming to them. They fuck around and find out, and the first thing they say is, "We got that on video," as if to say, "Oh, we're about to sue your ass." No, buddy. Like, you got what you deserved right there.
Yeah, and then, like, at the end, when he, like, once he got some distance between him, he's like, "Oh, you pussy." Like, not a fan of that either. Like, that's cheap.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't so goddamn funny, I would be like, this kid sucks. But the fact that it was almost comedic how he got pushed over and then continued to talk shit.
Also, great camera skills by him.
He
maintains to keep the camera on himself
he
basically the whole time.
He loses his hat that he's wearing. His little shirt that he's got tied around his head. When he gets knocked down, he gets back up shirtless without the toboggan on his head. Yeah, like, oh, what the fuck? Pussies.
That is honestly crazy, though, to be able to say, like, you know he's going to tell his parents, his kids that 30 years from now.
Oh, my God.
His kids are going to see that video.
I think it's kind of a win for that LSU defender. Like, you hit a dude, not a chick. You didn't Jermaine Burton.
Yeah.
You duded it. You hit a dude. And I don't think there's any repercussions there. I don't think there should be at all.
No, I don't think. I mean, he didn't even punch him. He just pushed him down.
He just pushed him. You didn't even punch him.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting pushed, Washington in a 4-quarter sweater against Arizona this weekend. And we were watching this on the way home. We had it up on the laptops, and we were kind of watching. We were getting closer and closer to home, and then we get home, and we both stopped watching. We were like, they were up 20. I think they were up 21-7. They scored on the first 3 possessions.
Yeah, and then we
kind of flipped it off.
We saw Arizona's quarterback throw a few passes, and we're like, ooh, that's ugly.
Yeah,
and so it's kind of like, all right, Washington's going to take care of business. They're going to win by 40 again, whatever.
Backup quarterback. I mean, Arizona looking sloppy and mid. Arizona, like a couple of wins against non-power 5s, lost to Mississippi State, beat Stanford by 1. Like, real bad football team on paper. And then you're like, what? Arizona only won by 7 in this football game? Like, what in the hell? Or excuse me, Washington only won by 7 in this football game? What in the hell happened? All right, well, this is what happened. Arizona squatted on the damn football the whole game. I looked it up. Looked at the drive chart this morning. Washington had 3 offensive possessions in the first half. They had 8 total possessions in the football game. At one point, Arizona had a possession in the third quarter where they ran, I don't even know how it's possible. They ran 4 offensive plays that gained a total of 21 yards of field position. They ran 3.5 minutes off the clock, taking 4 plays. I don't know how they did it. They ran maybe like 50 total offensive snaps, did Arizona, and managed to equal the time of possession that Washington had on 8 total possessions. For reference, I think Tennessee had 7 possessions in the first half of their football game. So, do you want to know the recipe to beating Washington this year? It's to squat on the football like this, because I haven't seen anything like this in quite some time on some scoreboards.
I'm telling you, man. Don't buy into that Washington hype. It's gonna happen sooner or later. Today was a little sample, or Saturday was a little sample. They're not. I don't buy it.
I only buy it because their offense maximizes possessions. They still managed to score. They scored 35 points on 8 total possessions.
Yeah, well, before we even turned the game on, I said, it just kicked off. And you're like, yeah, and I bet Washington's already scored 7 points. I was like, yeah, it's already 7-0. That's what Washington wants to do. They want to get the ball, they want to jump out quick, and they want to get their 30-point lead, and they want to get out of there. They just weren't able to do that. So maybe Arizona kind of teased what you have to do in order to beat Washington. You just need a little more offensive firepower.
Also, this offense isn't going to be this. I don't believe that you're going to have an offense that is this consistently effective throughout an entire 12-game season.
We'll find out next week.
They're going to have lulls somewhere.
We'll find out next week. If Oregon can play the style of defense that Oregon wants to play against everybody, they can do it against Washington. Washington can be contained. That's it.
I got a question for you then.
What's up?
If Bo Nix throws for 350 yards and Oregon wins, are you buying in the Heisman hype?
Bodacious.
I have to.
Bodacious.
I have to. Unfortunately, I will have to.
It's going to happen.
And look, I don't know. I just can't trust him. I can't trust him.
It's going to happen eventually.
He's not. I do put him in the same as Washington, where it's like something is going to go wrong.
Dude,
eventually.
even he's completing like 80% of his balls right now, and I'll turn the tape on, and like some of the completions are like, oh my God, heart attack. Like I'm an offensive coordinator, and Bo's running around like a chicken with his head cut off, and I'm like, yeah, that's just going to end well. It's going to end great. I feel great about it. No, I don't. I'm sweating my butt off in the daggum office just watching it. I couldn't imagine. Could not imagine. So, yeah. But let's talk about your heartbreaker this weekend.
Thought my Dukies had it, man.
Bro, they did.
They did.
Dukies drive down, 4-minute offense. I mean, just running it down the throat. Riley Leonard picking it apart, and then they give the ball back to Sam Hartman.
Yeah. Not even that, though. It was that you had them 4th and long. You had the game in your hands.
4th and 16.
And then you did what John Madden has told all of you sons of bitches not to do anymore. Don't play prevent defense because it prevents you from winning. And what do you know? You rush 3. Sam Hartman is just sitting back there looking nice and pretty like he always does. Rushes for a first down, and then they break open a big run and they take over.
Bro, that 4th and 16. Such a heroic play by Sam Hartman, but good God.
And then on top of that, Riley Leonard nearly kills himself on the last play of the game.
Yeah,
I was going to say, has there been a worse ending to a football game for a football team that you can remember? Because, I mean, Riley Leonard's out for at least 4 games. That was a tough ankle sprain.
Dude, he was putting his life on the line. Mad respect to you, Riley Leonard, man.
But, like, you lost the game, you blew it on defense, and not to mention you lost your quarterback on the last play of the game.
Yeah.
You still have half the season to go. So, like,
oof.
And it's not like Duke's out of anything. They're a one-loss team still. They can still very much win the ACC.
In 58 seconds, they went from a top 10 football team with the ACC's best quarterback.
About to beat Notre Dame.
To Riley Leonard out 3 to 4 weeks, no longer a top 15 team, and you just took your first loss this season. That's as bad of a turn of events as it possibly can be. Now, let's talk about Notre Dame, because we talked about how like gut-wrenching that is for Duke. Obviously going to struggle the next couple of weeks while Riley Leonard gets healthy. But for Notre Dame to win that football game in the fashion that they did after losing a football game in the very same fashion, I think that says a lot about what Marcus Freeman in this football program could potentially become.
It says a lot about Jesus.
Touchdown Jesus.
Shout out RG3.
It's Catholic Jesus, though. So
Yeah, I showed you that RG3 clip.
No. Yeah, you did. Was that in this game?
No, it was the Notre Dame, it was LSU Ole Miss.
Man's out here talking about the crucifix.
Comparing a sack to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ is insane, bro.
Dabo Sweeney immediately was writing down notes like, ooh, write that down.
Yeah,
that's a bar, bro.
They're lifting this man up like they're going to hang him on the cross. Like, yo.
Whoa.
Hey, yo.
RG3's out of pocket.
I'd rather you say something sus about a dude being thick from the waist down or something. Don't be out here talking about he lifted him up like the Jesus on the cross. Whoa.
To be fair, though, if you watch that clip back, it low-key did look like that.
Hey, I will say this about RG3, and this is why I can't give RG3 shit, because I would be just like him. I'd be taking swings in that booth. That's what I love about RG3, and it's why you heard me in the car. In the car, I'm very critical about announcers because I want to do it. Something I think I can do. Okay, and I'm very critical. Like, why are you saying that? Why are you saying? every once in a while I'd be like, man, I love that he's having enough fun to say that. And then the next clip I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like, what are you talking about? Like, the last series of the game, LSU's got the ball. They throw a little drag route to number 17. They get right back on the ball. And RG3 starts talking about, can't believe they haven't thrown the ball on this possession to Malik Neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there next to
they
Jay.
threw the ball twice.
They ran one play. What are you talking about? So, yeah, in one series, I'm like, damn, I love RG3 having fun on this call. I never want to criticize him. And then the next, I'm like, bro, you just brought up the crucifixion? What are we talking about?
I just got a great idea.
What's up?
We should try to let the University of Charlotte let us get rights to broadcast, and we'll do color commentary for Biff Poggi.
Man, I don't know if Poge is going to let us.
What if we bring him ice cream?
Dude, if we bring him a couple of gallons of ice cream, he might let us.
Just let him know that we get him, and he gets the show. He is part of the show.
Yeah.
I might take the drive.
Can you imagine doing a broadcast for
Is there any way we can make Charlotte a part of any type of trip that we have this year? Because there aren't that many road trips
I don't
this year.
think there's. I mean, I don't
There's
think
Nashville,
we're going.
and I don't even think we're going.
I don't think we're going to Nashville. There's
So-
Knoxville. There's Atlanta.
No, nothing via Charlotte. Might just have to take a trip to Charlotte.
If only he was around when they played Clemson a couple years ago. Georgia played Clemson a couple years ago. That was in Charlotte. Could have made the doubleheader.
Sam Pittman took a 12-point loss this week, and it's not just the 12-point loss. It's the fact that A&M was the superior football team for 4 quarters. From opening kick until final whistle, Arkansas got handled. And that's what we talked about a couple weeks ago on this channel. If you're an Arkansas fan, your bar of measurement is competency, okay, and competitiveness, all right? The moment you start to get handled by football teams who are obviously better than you, that's the problem for the football coach. You can't be losing by 12 points in a neutral site game, okay, in a game in which, again, from opening kick to final whistle, we knew who was going to win that football game. And that's a problem. It wasn't ugly. It wasn't an ugly loss, but it was an ugly from a standpoint of you never had a chance to win that football game, guys.
Well, it's not even ugly for that. It's ugly for the fact that you're slowly but surely losing faith in your fan base.
Yep.
And that was one of the main things that sold Sam Pittman on what made him a good coach was that he's our guy. He's the Arkansas coach. We believe in him. We love him. But the output you're getting right now is not going to be enough, and Arkansas fans are slowly starting to turn on him.
It just sucks even more, too, because you got a transcendent talent at the running back position in Raheem Sanders, and then you also have KJ Jefferson, who's one of your all-time best quarterbacks. And it feels like you're just kind of letting it go to waste now at this point.
And we talked about it at the beginning of the season. You know, losing your offensive coordinator, Kendall Briles, to TCU didn't help.
Yeah.
And this isn't, you know, say what you want about Sam Pittman as the person, but this isn't a football coach that has this massive Rolodex of college coaching contacts, okay? He hasn't been at 100 places. He hasn't coached for 100 different trees. This is an offensive line coach that spent, you know, half a decade at Arkansas, spent a half decade at Georgia, and now is a head coach. That's the last 12 years of his coaching ring. All right, so he hasn't bumped into a ton of guys. He hasn't crossed paths with a bunch of genius offensive minds. That's not what this has been. So when you have to replace coordinators, when you have to peel and replace, like all these other guys, you have to either be a tremendous interviewer, meaning you have to be able to interview a bunch of different people and make sure you select the correct guy, or you got to have a massive tree that you can lean on. And this isn't one of those things. So you're not going to be able to peel and replace coordinators at a place like Arkansas based off of just it's Arkansas and based off the fact that Sam Pittman doesn't have this long Rolodex of coaches. So we knew that was going to be a problem. It seems like the offense, though, hasn't been the main problem. Mm-hmm. The main problem's been keeping the defense off the field.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
I think,
again, Barry Odom there a couple of years ago, good defense coordinator. Haven't been able to replace him. I know he left 2 years ago, but this is a different team.
Yeah, and I think it's only, unfortunately, going to get worse for Arkansas because you're going to lose KJ Jefferson, and there's not really a dynamic quarterback that you have coming up after that. I don't think so, at least.
And Bama and Ole Miss the next 2 football games for those guys as well.
So, I mean, you're going to lose a lot of games this season. I think Arkansas fans are going to go pretty sour on Sam Pittman.
It's unfortunate, man. It's not only unfortunate for him, it's unfortunate for Stacey Searles because Georgia fans are going to immediately be like, oh, well, go hire him to be offensive coordinator, offensive line coach. And I don't know if that's the case. I think Sam might take his buyout money and enjoy the beer drinking for a while.
For sure.
I would.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
That is a lifer, by the way, guys. Look at that man's wiki. That dude earned every bit of $60 million that he got from Arkansas, having to go through the route that he had to become a head football coach. So
hell, I don't think you could pay me $60 million to get treated like that on social media, dude.
that's sad.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's really, really
Poor
sad.
guy.
I mean, he's such a nice person.
I
too.
know.
He's like the least hateable person in college football.
Is that the litmus test? If Sam Pittman can get the smoke on Twitter, anybody can.
Anybody can get
Yeah.
yeah.
So don't ever think you're safe.
Yeah. Well, it's not even because they don't like him. It's
I don't
just
know. Josh
appearance
Pate
based.
pretty impervious to hatred. They might get his takes, but they're not out there like, oh, look at the bald idiot. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't get mean jokes. Hey, that's what I'm saying. I'm fat. Yeah, we all have our things. Okay, we all have our things. I'm just
I
saying
look
he
like
doesn't
Pee
get
Wee
the
Herman,
vitriol.
you know?
Yeah, you look like Pee Wee Herman. You've got a weird mustache and glasses. Like we all have our thing, except for Josh Pate. So maybe that's what maybe we should be.
Maybe
super
I'll
jocked.
shave my head.
Super jocked. Is that what it is?
Shave your head, get jocked.
Because if Pittman gets to smoke, everybody gets to smoke. Unfortunate. Where do we want to go next? Do we want to talk about Florida? Do we want to talk about Tennessee's revenge game? What do we want to talk about? What the fuck, Florida?
Yeah,
What?
seriously.
What? We spent 2 weeks on here talking about, hey, got a defense, 370 yards of rushing against Kentucky. Gave up 270 to one guy.
Pathetic.
How historically bad was this, by the way?
Bad.
Historically speaking, they're
For
kind of
them, they've been doing
They're
this.
kind of due for one every single year. Now, not this much. The last time that they have allowed 300-plus rushing yards was 2021 against LSU when it was a shootout, like 42-49 was the final score. But like last year, there was an opponent that they gave up like 272 rushing yards to. So it's always kind of been a thing for them to do this once a year. So this was the 1 week, and it was a bad week to do it.
It's very funny to just watch the fan base of Florida because you have 2 weeks ago where
Yeah.
you beat they were number 11 at the time, and
Yeah.
I knew Napier would get it turned around. We're gonna get it all right, and now you get smoked by Kentucky. It's like, get him out of here. This is bullshit. I can't believe you're putting up with this anymore.
They're
Bro,
already
the media is not nice to him
no.
at all. And this was something I noticed. I'm not going to name any names, but this is something I got to hang out with the entire Florida beat down there in Jacksonville last year. Okay, all of them. They all hang out. It's very different than this beat. This beat, the young guys hang out, the old guys kick it, and then there's Brooks. Okay, at Florida, everybody kind of hangs out together. All right, and we went out to a bar one night, and I was talking to all of them. They think that guy's a goof. They don't think he's going to work, and it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long for a media outlet and a media base, a media core, to start doing the thing. Okay, and it ain't just them. Football Digest, Football Scoop. Okay, I know I was going to get to it eventually. Football Scoop, friend of the SI network. They actually are under the same umbrella. Okay, Football Scoop had an article today that said Florida has the highest, or basically their special teams have been so bad they have impacted losses at Florida more than any other program in the country this year. And that was one of the things I saw the media base kind of giving him shit on. It was like, hey, why are the special teams so bad? Like, what are y'all doing? And they've had to go out and hire midseason or name midseason somebody basically to handle special teams issues that they're having.
Maybe they should have read that article about Shane Beamer. Could have taken some notes about that.
Maybe
about
that's
how
what
important.
Billy needs to do. Maybe Billy
Take them
needs
shoes
to,
off, bro.
Yeah, take them shoes off,
Air
give
it
the
out.
toes for free, but most importantly, invite the boy Nick Delatorre over to your lake house.
There you go.
Yeah. Get the boy Zach Goodall over there, play a little catch with him. You know what I mean? Get who's that? Oscar Delatorre, I already named him. We got Goodall. Who else is down there on that Florida beat? All of them. Get all of them together, okay? Take them out on a little boat ride. Let them know that you're a cool guy. All right? That's what Dabo does up there at Clemson.
Yeah.
Just schmooze them a little bit. Or if you're like Kirby Smart, just limit every bit of their access, okay, and know that they're going to hate you. But all you got to do is win 86% of your football games. That's it.
Easy.
Easy. Just win 86% of your football games. Don't allow them at any 7-on-7s during the summer. Don't allow any practice availability after fall camp. Definitely make sure that you don't prepare them at all with any type of media availabilities and let anybody know who's coming or when they're coming or whatever. Don't do any of that stuff, okay? But if you're going to do that, you got to win 86% of your games. That's all. That's all you got to do.
Might work.
And then you can do whatever you want with the media. Until then, make sure you're nice to them, okay? Lincoln Riley, make sure you're nice to them. Because when you give up 41 points on the road to Colorado, okay, 34 of them in the second half, you're going to need them. You're going to need them to be nice to you one day, okay?
Facts. I kind of want to lean this into win of the weekend because I have Kentucky as the biggest winner.
You got Kentucky as the biggest win of the weekend?
Yeah, I don't know if people remember this, but not that long ago, Florida had like a 30-something game win streak against Kentucky.
Ooh.
Like it was like they.
It wasn't long ago. You're right.
It was like 5 years. They dominated Kentucky, like 30. Like it was like 31-0 at one point. And now Kentucky's won the last 3 games. Not to mention that you dominated them. You looked really good running the ball at least, and you have a chance to take over the SEC East.
Yeah.
Like that's insane to me. So I think this was a great win for Kentucky going into Athens.
Big win in the style in which they did it, right? And here's what I would be concerned about. Now, the players are totally different, and I'll have to watch it on film to let you know whether or not this is the case. But schematically, if there is anything that Kentucky did this weekend to beat Florida just off of scheme, not meaning my players beat your players, but I schemed this up to be a winner, they run the same scheme Georgia does. So not identical, again, not the same players. So if you don't have the same players, you're ideally not going to have the same scheme because you're manipulating based off personnel. However, the base of what they do, very similar to what Georgia does. So if there were any scheme winners, you're probably going to have those available this weekend too if you're Kentucky.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're a Kentucky fan right now, you're feeling great about this because
win.
You were what, predicted 4th in the East? People were saying South Carolina, Tennessee. Now you're one of the only undefeated teams in the East.
Biggest win of the weekend?
I said Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I said Notre Dame is because this feels like the first time in a while where we didn't feel like Notre Dame had to be perfect in the regular season to make the college football playoff because they have the schedule and they have the games to where they have some significance there. You can take a loss because you can bounce back.
But Duke couldn't have been one of them.
No, Duke could not have been one of them, especially after losing to Ohio State. You could not have consecutive losses. Big win for them. You got some momentum back. You got some confidence back. So I thought that was a big win for Notre Dame.
Now you got to handle USC and obviously Clemson. Now, the USC game, they've got the recipe, right? They got an offensive and defensive line that can control both lines of scrimmage and they can run the football and keep it out of Caleb Williams' hands. So that'll be interesting. Biggest win for me was Texas. We talked about it to start the show. They proved a lot to me. They proved that they are mature enough, and Steve Sarkisian is a good enough motivator and manipulator of narratives to make sure his football team was not sleepwalking through that football game. The biggest revenge football game, however, was in Neyland. Now, South Carolina and a little bit of Georgia cost Tennessee. I saw that coming. I saw a synchronized cough coming from the boys over there.
You can do it together.
Y'all got to quit making out on your rides over here. Anyways, where are we at?
Talking about South Carolina, Tennessee.
Talking about South
Revenge
Carolina,
games.
Tennessee. Revenge game. Now, Tennessee fans will tell you that South Carolina cost them a college football playoff berth last year. I would tell you that Georgia cost you a college football playoff berth last year. I think you could have handled the South Carolina wash. You couldn't handle both. But anyways, and it was brutal. It was ugly. 62-38. They dominated you. Some would say ran the score up in that football game. Obviously, Tennessee fans have a little bit of feeling some type of way because I believe Hendon Hooker got hurt in that football game as well last year. So there's a lot of feelings for Tennessee coming into this football game, and they 100% came out with a very controlling dub. I believe 41-20 in this football game. It was an obvious from the start Tennessee handled that ball game. And you look at that score, 41-20, and you think, revenge game, offense, play pretty well. No, this was a defensive football win for Tennessee. And there's not a lot of these, okay, in the game logs of Tennessee over the last couple of years. This was one. 41 points scored, I get it. You see South Carolina had 20 points. You might think that defense played okay. No, sir. They played phenomenally. They had 6 sacks, a pick 6, 8 tackles for loss. This was havoc after havoc after havoc after havoc. They created a whole hell of a lot of problems for this South Carolina football team. And if you really take out one bad play, that a 75-yard touchdown run that they gave up to start the second half, if you take out that one singular bad football play, they allowed 257 total yards of offense from a South Carolina football team who we thought coming into this football game was adequate on the offensive side of the football, to say the least, okay? They were scheming their way around a really, really poor offensive line. That was a havoc-filled defense for 4 quarters. The question becomes, can they produce like that? Can they have that type of havoc-wreaking performance on the road, okay? In a couple weeks, we'll find out against Alabama. But that was an impressive defensive performance from my perspective from Tennessee on Saturday, something we didn't think we're going to have to talk about coming into the football game.
Yeah, I think the biggest play of the game was, South Carolina had just went down the field and they scored. Spencer Rattler dove into the end zone, scored a touchdown. Felt like South Carolina was getting some momentum back in Neyland Stadium. And then right before the end of the first half, you get a pick six. With 30 seconds left, that puts you out in front before you get the ball back to start the second half. That was a turning point. Your defense kind of sparked that for you and allowed you to run away with the football game.
I mean, they ran the ball pretty successfully on Saturday, but this was we defied the quarterback's performance type of game from their defense, 100%. Joe Milton didn't play great Saturday.
Yeah, this game felt defensively very much like last year's Kentucky game for them, where they just shut down Will Levis, got defensive scores off of it, and people were kind of like, wait a minute, Tennessee's defense is kind of good. The question is now it's kind of the show me thing where, can you do this week in and week out? Because if you can, you have a very good football team.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about this top 12 before we get out of here for the night. We'll start 12-1, give you a little bit of rundown on everybody. We got to get some cough drops, some larynges, some throat relief.
We're dying
tomorrow. No pause. I got Alabama at 12. I think they've done enough to be a top 12 football team, and by that I mean they've recruited like hell the last 3 or 4 years. They are undoubtedly one of the more talented football teams in the country. They will continue to look that way throughout their schedule. We're going to see. We're going to see if a football team forces them to look like they got to score, because watching them on tape, the defense is as scary, as fast, as big, as physical as they've ever been on that side of the football. You're going to have to beat them through the air this year, and only Texas proved to be able to do that so far. We'll see if LSU can do it in a handful of weeks. Maybe A&M this weekend, but I don't necessarily know. Notre Dame at number 11. We thought they had a great win this week. Would have bounced them up a little bit more, but guys, there's just nothing but perfect teams left available. So they are my most highest-ranked one-loss football team. Oklahoma at number 10. We're going to find out this weekend. USC, number 9. The defense is beyond troublesome. It is beyond concerning. It is beyond what you do on NCAA 14 where you're playing your best friend and it's, hey, who throws a pick first today? That's who's going to lose. It's beyond that. The defense is absolutely porous. Tackling is beyond suspect. And it doesn't look like this is something that's going to get better. They have transfers in there that we thought the first couple weeks we said, hey, pump the brakes, give them time. They got to get these new faces playing much more simplistic defense. Everything will be okay. Wrong. Okay, defense looking hella suspect. I got Oregon at number 8. And as I say this, I want to bump Oregon up. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and bump them over Penn State. I got Penn State 8, Oregon number 7. I got Ohio State number 6. Washington number 5. Don't think what you did this weekend, don't make me want to fade you a little bit, Washington. I'm fading you here. I'm putting you at number 5. Florida State at number 4. We talked about it last week. Think they got a pair of wins that are just as good, if not better, than everybody else in college football. Michigan at number 3. Not going to lie to you. It's based off prior success and what you've done this year to kind of dominate your lesser-than opponents. Texas, you did a lot this week, baby. You were at 5 last week. You jumped to number 2 this week. It was because you handled business. You did what I didn't know if you were going to be able to do this week or this year. I got Georgia at number 1. Any thoughts, comments, questions, concerns on the rankings, fellas?
I think I would actually have Notre Dame a little higher.
Over what undefeated team?
I would have them over USC, I think.
And over Oklahoma?
I think they're a better team than Oklahoma.
Top to bottom, better quarterback, better play on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Okay. Just doesn't have the offensive firepower that Oklahoma might.
Yeah, or USC for that fact.
That Jeff Lebby guy can call some offense, man. Mm-hmm. I think, everyone swooned over the hire when Venables first got there. I think people forget just how good of an offensive coordinator that guy is. For Venables, and I think Lebby's got history there, but for Venables to have gotten that guy to leave Ole Miss to come there, that's That's impressive.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And they definitely can dial it up offensively. Hey, appreciate you for being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, and review.